Yes, it's 100% so. You know, anybody you harbor in your premises, at least you must know little information about that person. And I have to move fast. The bill that we are reviewing is going to make it an offense for any landlord who does not do any proper check on a tenant before renting your premises out. So the first thing you have to do, if it's a foreigner, for instance, you need to know whether the person has working permit or residential permit. Don't depend on the money alone. So if you don't do this, and the authority come before you and we realize that you've not done these proper checks, it will be an offense that you can be punished of. And then more so about this period of this terrorism.
Yep.
Okay, if you don't do that, and the person you are harboring is a tourist, all of us will be in danger. So there's a saying that see something, say something. If you are not even an expert to interpret any signal, there are authorities that you can, any small signal you see, just report to the authority because they are expert in those fields. They can interpret that signal and know that the direction of this tenant is heading towards a terrorism act. So there's no that you can harbor somebody or rent your premises out without knowing. I said, know your customer.
Know your customer.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. When it comes to rent control, what role will you play in helping the landlord to investigate the tenant? Okay. So the law under Section 4 of the Rent Control Law 1986, it mandates that when you get somebody, after issuing the person with the tenancy agreement, the person has gone through and you are all satisfied, the two of you are satisfied that we will abide by this laid down agreement. Of course, it shouldn't contravene any of our laws, Constitution, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and then even our rent law. If none of the clauses or the sections contravenes that, the two of you can sign. After signing, your landlord is mandated to register this tenancy agreement with the Rent Control Department for us to go through again. In that way, we will be able to know the landlords and the tenants. And then we'll put in the database, that's just as Mr. Opoku mentioned initially. So it's after we've given the go-ahead that you, the landlord, can go back and collect rent advance. But what are we seeing now? People, because of desperation, because of the housing deficit, which we all agree, people just pay money without even seeing a tenancy agreement. So our portion or our role in this is landlords should abide by this law, because we cannot be everywhere at the same time. And tenants should insist on their right. What I always say is that if you know your right and you stand on it, the other person will do the right thing. All right, now let's talk about the agreement, okay? Yes. You said that an agreement will have to be given, signed, a contract to be signed. Exactly. As a tenant, how will I know that the agreement that you are giving to me has gone to rent control?
No, the agreement will not come to rent control until the two of you have signed.
Okay.
What you have to do is that when the agreement is given to you, it's your responsibility to go through section by section.
Is there a format for the agreement, or is just anybody can draft an agreement?
What we are seeing now, landlords are just coming out with their own agreement. If you don't have the knowledge, you can contract any lawyer to assist you or come to rent control. We have a format. But the bill that we are reviewing now, rent control will be mandated to come out with a standardized tenancy agreement. Okay, but we've not reached there. So we still have a format in our offices or a sample where you can come. We'll take you through so that you go and amend it. But what you are seeing now, people are just coming out. And tenants are not doing the due diligence in reading. Some even don't see the tenancy agreement before paying the rent advance. And at the end of the day, when they are issued with the tenancy agreement, see that there are a lot of clauses that are going to infringe on your rights. Okay, so the education is that let's make sure we cite the tenancy agreement before we pay the rent advance. We understand the housing deficit is so high. Whilst your negotiations, another tenant is standing at my back. He is willing to pay without saying all those things. So let's be united. It's a collective responsibility.
So if I should receive my agreement and I have issues with it, can I come to rent control?
Yeah, you can first discuss with the landlord that this clause, I cannot abide by them. If the landlord insists then you can bring it to rent control.
If you want to say something, let's talk about the offense part, where you did mention the fact that if you should be found culpable for the fact that you rented your house to a criminal without any investigation, you'll be held accountable. What is the law saying about it? What's the kind of sentence that the person can get, or the punishment?
Okay, so just as I said, I was going to move fast. This is a proposal in the review of the act. So the final punishment will be determined after the assignment of the...
Oh, so it's not done yet?
It's not done yet. Okay. It's part of the...
So currently you can rent your house without any proper investigation on the person?
No, you do. You have to do. But I'm talking about the punishment. The punishment, you know, the current law, the 1963 and the 1986 law has not specified the kind of punishment that will be meted on somebody who go contrary to this. But the bill which is coming is going to expose the punishment that has to be done. But it's still an offense. If, you know, the law in general is that if you commit any offense and you come before us, we write our recommendation and forward it to the magistrate or the judge, as we may call them. So it's the judge discretion that will be. But in general terms, the general term is that you can be in jail for 2 years maximum, or can be found on 10,000 cedis maximum. But all this will be based on the discretion.
Let's talk about Johnson, because you keep on shaking your head.
You see, it's the problem. Honestly,
what's the problem?
I know rent control has a lot to do. I always say, but sometimes I become very critical on them. But this time, I mean, I will temper justice with mercy, on the basis that I wouldn't want to blame them that much, because the government, they are under the Ministry of Housing. The government has actually rendered them impotent. The government has rendered rent control impotent.
How do you say that?
Yes, because they are a-resourced. Nothing. Even vehicle to move around, to do assessment, they don't have.
The PR is here, is this true?
Yes,
confirm it.
You must confirm. If you wouldn't confirm, I'll confirm.
No, we have logistical problem. I cannot run away from
so,
that.
Okay.
Yes.
This is what we are talking about. Like, government cannot build. The little that it can do is to resource the agency that is responsible to bring relief to the people. That's why I say that we have seen government come and gone. Very irresponsible, very, very irresponsible in the area of housing, because they don't see housing as any serious thing at all. Now, rent control, the law mandates, Mr. Posu is here as the PRO, that even before you need even to entertain a landlord, or landlord even brings an issue to rent control, ideally, tenancy agreements and all these things are very important. So in case the landlord refuses, you know, to give tenancy agreement to the tenant, to the tenant, the landlord refuses to give tenancy agreement to the tenant, and like he will do, go tomorrow, come tomorrow. These are all technicalities, and because people are desperate to get their premises, they are compelled to what? To pay. Now, when there's an issue or misunderstanding or dispute between these two, the landlord and the tenant, where the landlord normally they run to the rent control to seek reliefs, the question is, rent control is supposed to ask, have you registered your tenancy? Before anybody who rent out, by law,
you have to register.
Register with the rent control. So that is where I have an issue with rent control. And that rent control has relegated itself to settling of disputes, which is a minute aspect of what they are expected to do by the law. Small aspect is settling disputes. But now, they are now championing certain disputes. If you ask Mr. Posu, he will tell you that I have been able to, I can tell you have settled 200,000 issues. Who cares about what you settled? The most important thing is that tenants are going through mess. Landlords are obliged by the law to do A, B, or C. Are they in check? Do you wait for the matter to happen? If the matter happens, you want to come and seek relief and say the person must be removed. He has not paid his rent. He's owing me. I know by law. If he owes you, you must sack him. But the point is that, has the landlord done due diligence that he must be entertained?
Right.